Welcome back to ZE Coins today. We're diving deep into the world of numismatics to uncover the top 8 most valuable Abraham Lincoln pennies that are worth an absolute fortune in today's market. You may want to double-check your coin jar after watching this video, because one of these little copper coins might just make you a millionaire. We're diving into the fascinating story behind a small coin with a big history, the 1980 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny. You might have a few of these lying around in your spare change jar, but what you may not know is that some of these pennies could be worth a lot more than just a single cent. So stay tuned as we uncover everything from its historical background to why some of these coins are worth hundreds, even thousands, in today's collector's market. Let's begin with a little background. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since 1909. It was introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin features the iconic portrait of Lincoln, and it has become one of the most recognizable coins in the world. Now fast forward to 1980. The Denver Mint produced over 5 billion Lincoln cents that year, yes, billion with a B, making the 1980 D penny one of the more common coins in circulation. So what makes this common coin potentially valuable today? The answer lies in the details. First, let's talk about its composition. The 1980 D penny was one of the last years when pennies were made primarily of copper. Coins from 1982 onward were made with a zinc core coated with copper, which significantly changed their weight and overall makeup. So the 1980 D penny contains about 95% copper and 5% zinc, which already gives it some intrinsic metal value. But here's the kicker. The metal value of a 1980 D penny is currently more than 1 cent due to the high price of copper. As of now, the melt value of a single pre-1982 copper penny hovers around 2 to 3 cents depending on the market. Multiply that by a jar full and you could be sitting on a small pile of copper value alone. However, melting pennies for metal is illegal in the United States, so this is more about potential value than practical use. Now let's get into where the real money is: rare varieties, mint errors, and high-grade examples. Even though over 5 billion of these coins were minted, not all of them were struck equally. Certain mistakes or quality conditions can cause the value of a 1980 D penny to skyrocket. For example, if you come across a 1980 D penny with a double die error, where parts of the design are slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process, it can be worth significantly more. Collectors pay close attention to coins with doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "in God we trust." Though extremely rare, any 1980 D penny showing doubling could sell for hundreds depending on the sharpness of the error and the condition of the coin. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin design is not properly centered, or coins with die cracks, clips, or other unusual minting anomalies. These mint errors are valued by rarity and eye appeal, and a dramatic off-center strike, for instance, can bring in $50 to $100 or more depending on how severe the misalignment is. But condition is everything. Most 1980 D pennies in circulation are heavily worn and not worth more than face value. But if you have a coin that's in mint state, meaning it was never used and has no wear, it could be worth much more to a collector. Mint state coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin. A 1980 D penny graded mint state 65 or higher can sell for several dollars, and if it reaches near perfect condition, such as MS67 or MS68, it could be worth 50, 100, or even more. In fact, auction records show that the highest price paid for a 1980 D penny in superb condition was well over $1,000. That coin had a near-flawless surface and blazing original red color that looked exactly as it did the day it left the Denver Mint. So while most 1980 D pennies are common, those in exceptional condition are in high demand among collectors. Let's talk about how to spot one. First, look for the small D mint mark below the date, which tells you it was made in Denver. Check the color of the coin. Original red coins that have not oxidized are more valuable than brown or even red-brown ones. Use a magnifying glass to inspect for any doubling or unusual features. If you think you've found something special, you may want to have it graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC.so. What's the takeaway here? While most 1980 D pennies are only worth face value, some rare examples can be worth a lot more, especially those with errors or in uncirculated condition. If you have a collection of old change, Or if you've inherited a box of coins, it's worth taking a close look. That little penny could be hiding a small fortune. We explore fascinating stories behind everyday coins and uncover the hidden value in your pocket change. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the world of the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. A small copper coin with a rich history that could be worth more than you think. Let's take a moment to consider the humble penny. For most people, it's just a coin we pass over. We leave it in jars or ignore it at the checkout counter. But for coin collectors and enthusiasts, some pennies tell an incredible story, and some are surprisingly valuable. The 1980 Lincoln penny is one such coin. To truly understand its value, we need to rewind a bit to the origins of this coin. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. It was the first time a real person appeared on a regular issue American coin, and that person was Lincoln, a figure of unity, strength, and leadership during one of the most turbulent periods in American history. Fast forward to 1980, and the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for over 70 years. The coin still featured the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, a detail that has remained largely unchanged since its debut in the early 20th century. On the reverse of the 1980 penny, we find the Lincoln Memorial, a design that replaced the original wheat ears in 1959. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was created by Frank Gasparo and was meant to reflect the national admiration for Lincoln and the monument that stands in his honor in Washington, D.C. Now let's talk about the composition. The 1980 Lincoln penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was one of the last years that pennies were primarily composed of copper. Starting in 1982, the United States Mint began producing pennies with a core of zinc and a thin copper coating to save on production costs. That makes pennies from 1980 and earlier especially attractive to collectors and metal enthusiasts because they have a higher intrinsic metal value. How much is a 1980 Lincoln penny worth today? Well, in general circulation, these coins are common. The United States Mint produced over 7 billion pennies in 1980. They were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins without a mint mark were made in Philadelphia. Those with a small d were minted in Denver. And coins with an S mint mark were proof coins from San Francisco, made especially for collectors. While a typical 1980 penny might only be worth face value if it's worn or damaged, coins in uncirculated condition or with certain errors can be worth far more. An uncirculated 1980 penny from the Philadelphia or Denver Mint, in pristine condition with a brilliant red luster, can fetch anywhere from 25 cents to a few dollars depending on the grade. A certified MS-65 example might sell for $5 or more. But the real gems are the error coins. That's where things get interesting. Some 1980 pennies have double die errors, where the design is slightly doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. These errors can increase the coin's value dramatically. A strong double die on the obverse, especially around the date or the words Liberty or In God We Trust, can raise a penny's value to over $100 depending on condition. Another type of error is the off-center strike. If a penny is struck off-center but still shows the full date, it becomes much more collectible. Depending on how dramatic the error is and how much of the design is missing, these coins can be worth anywhere from $10 to several hundred. Then there are pennies struck on the wrong planchet, which means they were accidentally stamped on a metal blank meant for another coin. These mistakes are rare, and when found, they often become highlight pieces in any coin collection. Values for these errors can range from $50 to several hundred or more. Let's not forget proof coins. The 1980s proof Lincoln penny was not meant for circulation and was made with specially polished dies and blanks to produce a mirror-like finish. These coins were sold directly to collectors and are often found in excellent condition. A typical 1980s proof penny is worth a few dollars, but high-grade examples, especially those with a cameo or deep cameo appearance, can be worth $10 to $30 or more. Now, how can you tell if your 1980 penny is worth more than a cent? Start by checking its condition. If it's clean, bright, and shows little to no wear, you might have an uncirculated example. Use a magnifying glass to look for doubling on the letters and numbers. If you suspect an error, consider having the coin professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. You might also want to weigh your 1980 penny. A genuine copper penny from that year should weigh about 3.11 grams. If the weight is significantly different, it could mean you have a coin struck on the wrong planchet, which adds another layer of rarity and value. In conclusion, while the 1980 Lincoln penny is not rare in itself, certain varieties and conditions can make it a small treasure. Whether you're a beginner just getting into coin collecting or a seasoned numismatist, it pays to pay attention to the change in your pocket. That plain-looking penny from 1980 might just be worth a lot more than 1 cent. Video is gonna blow your mind, especially if you have a jar of old pennies lying around. We're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1982 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that seems ordinary at first glance but may actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. If you stick around until the end, I'll show you how to tell if you have a valuable 1982 penny in your collection and how much it could sell for on the current market. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the man on the coin, Abraham Lincoln. His image has been on the US 1-cent coin since 1909, making it the longest-running coin design in American history. But the year 1982 marks a very special chapter in this coin's legacy, not because of Lincoln himself, but because of a major change the US Mint made to the coin's composition. And that change created a mystery, a variety of types, and some seriously rare errors that collectors are still hunting for today. So what happened in 1982 that makes this penny so special? Well, up until 1982, Lincoln pennies were made primarily of copper. But copper prices had risen, and it became too expensive to keep minting billions of coins with so much of it. So partway through 1982, the US Mint decided to change the composition of the penny. Instead of being made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, the new coins would be made of 97.5% zinc and just coated with a thin layer of copper. This change would save the Mint millions of dollars. But here's where things get interesting. The Mint didn't make this change on just one day. They phased it in throughout the year. That means in 1982, there were actually 2 different metal compositions being used to strike pennies. And that's not all. The Mint also made a design change. They slightly altered the size of the date numerals on the coin. As a result, there are 7 distinct varieties of the 1982 Lincoln penny, and one of them is incredibly rare. Let's break them down. You've got 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc. Then the same 4 combinations were struck at the Denver Mint, giving you 1982 D large date copper, 1982 D small date zinc, and 1982 D large date zinc. That makes 7 types total. Now here's the catch. Until 2017, collectors believed that the 1982 D small date copper penny did not exist. All small date coins from Denver were thought to be struck on the new zinc composition. But then, a collector discovered a genuine 1982 D small date copper penny and had it authenticated. This discovery sent shockwaves through the coin world. Only a couple of examples have ever been confirmed, and if you happen to have one, it could be worth over $15,000 or more, depending on condition. But even the more common 1982 varieties can be valuable. High-grade examples that are uncirculated or have been professionally graded can fetch anywhere from $10 to $50 or more. And if your coin has any mint errors like off-center strikes, double dies, or wrong planchet types, the value can skyrocket into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So how do you tell what kind of 1982 penny you have? First, look at the date. If the numbers appear thin and tall, it's likely a small date. If they're more rounded and bulky, it's probably a large date. But what really matters is the metal composition. Here's a simple trick. If you have a 1982 penny and you're not sure whether it's copper or zinc, weigh it. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams. A zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. You'll need a digital scale that can measure to the hundredth of a gram to be accurate. So grab your old change jar, look for 1982 pennies, and weigh them. If you find a small date Denver penny that weighs 3.11 grams, congratulations, you might have struck copper gold. Literally. And now for the part everyone's been waiting for: what are the current market values in 2025 for the 1982 Lincoln penny? Well, common circulated examples are worth face value, but uncirculated copper or zinc coins can go for $5 to $15 depending on grade. Mint state 65 or higher graded coins can be worth up to $50 or more. And as we mentioned earlier, that ultra-rare 1982D small date copper penny, if certified by a reputable grading service, could bring in $15,000 or more at auction. There's also growing demand from collectors, and the market for coin errors and varieties continues to heat up. Online marketplaces like eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections frequently sell these coins, and the prices can fluctuate based on condition, demand, and certified authenticity. Before you sell or buy any rare coin, always get it graded by a professional like PCGS or NGC. That adds credibility and helps ensure you get the full value for your find. So there you have it. The story of the 1982 Abraham Lincoln penny. What started as a minor change in metal composition turned into one of the most intriguing modern coin mysteries. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who found an old penny in your drawer, the 1982 penny is definitely one to look out for. We are diving into a coin you might easily overlook in your change, but that could secretly be worth a surprising amount of money. That coin is none other than the 2001 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, before you toss your pennies into a jar or spend them on gum, make sure to listen closely, because that 1-cent piece could potentially fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars under the right conditions. So what is the 2001 Lincoln penny and why is it special? Let's start with some quick background. Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909. It was first issued to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The original design featured the bust of Lincoln on the obverse side and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. That design lasted until 1958, starting in 1959 and continuing through 2008. The reverse was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial, which is what we see on the 2001 penny. This design is often referred to as the Memorial Reverse. The 2001 Lincoln penny is made from copper-plated zinc weighing about 25 grams and measuring 19 millimeters in diameter. It was minted in 2 main locations, Philadelphia with no mint mark and Denver with a D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint also produced proof versions for collectors bearing an S mint mark. Now here is the part most people really want to know. Is it worth more than a penny? The short answer is yes, but only under certain conditions. Let me explain. There are a few key factors that can increase the value of a 2001 penny. First and foremost, condition matters a lot in the world of coin collecting. The better the condition, the higher the value. A coin that is uncirculated or graded MS67 or higher by a grading service like PCGS or NGC can command a premium, but condition alone is not everything. What really excites collectors are errors and varieties. These are mistakes that happen during the minting process, and some of them are incredibly rare and valuable. One well-known example is the 2001 double die Lincoln penny. This type of error happens when the coin is struck more than once slightly off position, resulting in a doubling effect in the design. If you look closely at the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," and see any kind of shadowing or duplication, you may have a double die. That kind of error can easily raise the value of the coin to $50, $100, or even more. Another rare error is the off-center strike. This is when the coin is not properly aligned in the press and only part of the design appears centered. If the coin is struck 50% off-center and still shows the date, it could be worth hundreds. Then there is the die crack error, where a crack in the die used to mint the coin transfers a raised line or lump onto the coin surface. These kinds of coins are called retained die cracks, and some collectors are very interested in them depending on how dramatic the error is. Even more exciting is when the plating process goes wrong. For example, sometimes a penny may come out without its copper layer. This results in a coin that looks silver-colored like a dime, but it is actually a penny. These errors are called unplated zinc planchets, and they are rare and can sell for serious money at auction. So let us talk about real numbers. How much are these coins actually selling for? According to auction records, as of this year, a 2001 Lincoln penny graded MS68RD, which means red, brilliant, and in near perfect condition, sold for over $700. A double die error version from 2001 in high grade has sold for between $100 and $250, depending on the severity of the doubling and overall quality of the coin. Off-center errors, especially those over 50% off, can bring in $150 to $300 or more, depending on how well the date is visible and how dramatic the error is. And a 2001 penny struck on an unplated zinc planchet recently sold for over $500 at auction. That is 500 times its face value. Even proof coins from 2001 can have value if they are in perfect condition. A deep cameo proof from San Francisco graded PR70 DCAM can sell for $50 to $100, especially if it is in a certified holder from PCGS or NGC. So what should you do if you have a bunch of 2001 pennies lying around? First, check the mint mark. A D means Denver, a plain coin means Philadelphia, and an S means it is a proof coin from San Francisco. Next, look at the overall condition. Is the coin shiny and scratch-free or dull and worn? The closer it looks to brand new, the better. Then examine it under a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date, the lettering, and Lincoln's profile. Watch for signs of doubling, cracks, or any other unusual features. If you suspect you have an error coin or one in near-perfect condition, it is worth sending it in to a professional grading service for authentication. Yes, it costs money, but the value you could unlock may be well worth the cost. Lastly, do not forget to check online marketplaces and auction results. This gives you an idea of what similar coins are actually selling for, not just what people are asking. To wrap up, the 2001 Lincoln penny may seem like a common coin, and for the most part it is, but with the right combination of condition, minting errors, and rarity, it can become a hidden gem in your coin collection. So the next time you reach into your pocket or dump your change jar, take a moment to look through those pennies. You never know when you might be holding on to something worth far more than 1 cent. We uncover the hidden stories and surprising values behind everyday coins. Today, we are diving deep into the fascinating world of the 2018 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. While it may seem like just another common coin in your pocket change, there is much more to it than meets the eye. From its rich history to surprising market values, this coin has captured the attention of collectors and treasure hunters alike. Stick around until the end, because we will reveal the rarest versions of this penny that could be worth a lot of money today. Section 1. Historical background. Let us start with the history of the Lincoln cent. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this penny was a groundbreaking design. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. The coin originally had the wheat reverse design until it was changed to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. Then, in 2009, the design was changed again to celebrate Lincoln's bicentennial with 4 special reverse designs. Finally, starting in 2010 and continuing to today, the reverse has featured the Union Shield, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States during the Civil War. The 2018 penny continues this design tradition. On the obverse or front of the coin, we have the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right with the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date 2018. On the reverse, we see the Union Shield with a scroll reading 1 cent and the words "United States of America." The initials of the designer Lyndall Bass and engraver Joseph Mena are subtly placed below the shield. Section 2. Mint marks and production. In 2018, the penny was minted at 3 locations. The Philadelphia Mint, which typically does not use a mint mark. The Denver Mint, which uses the D mint mark. And the San Francisco Mint, which produces proof coins with the S mint mark. Here is a breakdown of mintage numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck approximately 4.9 billion pennies. The Denver Mint struck about 5.3 billion. And the San Francisco Mint struck just over 3 million proof coins. So, in terms of rarity, the S mint mark coins are far less common, especially those in pristine condition, which are graded as proof 69 or proof 70 by professional grading services. Section 3. Errors and varieties. Now let us talk about what really excites coin collectors. Errors and varieties. Certain 2018 Lincoln pennies have been discovered with unique mint errors that significantly boost their value. Some of these include double dies, where the image or lettering is slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during striking. Off-center strikes, which occur when the coin is not properly centered during minting. Die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin begins to wear or crack, causing raised lines on the coin. And more rare examples like clipped planchets and struck through grease errors. For example, a 2018 D penny with a dramatic off-center strike sold for over $50. A double die obverse from the same year graded in high mint state can fetch $100 or more depending on the sharpness of the doubling. Section 4. Condition and grading. Condition is everything when it comes to coin value. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with higher numbers meaning better condition. A mint state 67 red 2018 penny, meaning it shows no wear and has full original color, can be worth $10 to $15. If you find a penny in pocket change that looks brand new with no scratches, spots, or discoloration, it may be worth sending to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Coins with a red designation are the most valuable. Red-brown coins are mid-range, and brown coins are typically worth only face value unless they have a rare error. Section 5. Current market value and demand. So, what is the 2018 Lincoln penny worth today? In circulated condition, it is worth 1 cent, of course. But uncirculated examples from rolls or mint sets often sell for a premium. A roll of 50 uncirculated 2018 D pennies can sell for $4 to $6. High-grade coins graded MS67 or better can sell individually for up to $20 or more depending on demand. Proof coins from San Francisco are even more valuable. A proof 2018's penny graded PR70 DCAM has sold for over $30. If you come across one in a proof set that has not been damaged or touched with bare hands, it may be worth submitting for grading. Additionally, some collectors pay extra for coins with special toning, meaning unusual color patterns caused by chemical reactions or environmental exposure. These coins can be highly desirable, especially when the toning enhances the beauty of the coin. Section 6. Tips for collectors. Here are some quick tips if you want to start collecting or investing in modern Lincoln pennies. Always handle coins by the edges, never touch the face. Store coins in dry, cool environments using protective holders. Learn to spot common errors and look closely at details using a magnifier or loupe. Buy official mint sets and rolls for your collection and avoid harsh cleaning, which can destroy value. Conclusion. So the 2018 Lincoln penny may seem like just another coin, but in the world of numismatics, even the smallest details can make a big difference. Whether it is a rare mint error or a perfect proof strike, this 1-cent piece can be worth a lot more than its face value. Keep an eye out in your change jars, your drawers, and even in circulation. You never know when you might find a treasure hiding in plain sight. We are diving into the fascinating world of coin collecting, and specifically, we're talking about one small copper coin that might just be sitting in your change jar right now. That's right. We're looking at the 1961 D Lincoln 1-cent penny. It may look ordinary, but some of these coins are worth way more than just 1 cent. In fact, under the right circumstances, it can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars on the open market. So stay tuned as we uncover the history, design, minting process, errors, and current market value of this amazing little coin. Let's start with a bit of history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first United States coin to feature a real person and not just a symbol or representation of liberty. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin originally featured 2 wheat stalks on the reverse side, which collectors now call the wheat penny. That design lasted until 1958. Starting in 1959, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and the 50th anniversary of the Lincoln cent itself, the reverse was changed to show the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., designed by Frank Gasparo. This design remained in circulation until 2008. Now, moving to the 1961 D Lincoln penny. The D stands for the Denver Mint, which produced over 1 billion coins that year. In total, over 1.7 billion 1961 D cents were struck. That's a massive number, and at first glance, you might think that means the coin is common and therefore not valuable. But that's not the whole story. You see, coin collectors and experts don't just look at how many were made. They also look at the condition, the quality of the strike, any unusual mint errors, and how well the coin has survived over the decades. That's where things get really interesting. First, let's talk about the basic composition. The 1961 D penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. Because of its copper content, even a circulated example is worth more than a cent just for the metal value alone, although you can't legally melt pennies for their copper. Now let's get into the errors and varieties. This is where the big money comes in. Some 1961 D pennies have doubling on the date or mint mark, which is known as a double die. These double die errors are caused during the minting process when the die that strikes the coin shifts slightly and creates a ghosted or shadowed image, especially on the date or lettering. These types of errors are highly sought after and can bring in serious money. Another error to watch for is the repunched mint mark, often abbreviated as RPM. In 1961, mint marks were still being punched into each die by hand. Sometimes the worker would accidentally punch the mint mark in slightly the wrong place and then punch it again in the correct spot. If both impressions are visible, the coin is considered an RPM variety and can be worth a premium. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the coin, and die cracks, where the die itself has begun to fracture and leaves raised lines or bumps on the coin surface. All of these mint errors can dramatically increase the value. Let's now talk about coin grades, because the condition of the coin matters a lot. A 1961 D penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a few cents to $1 to the right collector. But if you have one in brilliant uncirculated condition, meaning it shows no wear and retains its original luster, you might be looking at anywhere from $5 to $25. And if the coin is in mint state 65 or higher, meaning it is nearly perfect, the value can easily jump to $50 or more. Some rare examples with errors or exceptional quality have sold at auction for hundreds or even over $1,000. For example, one 1961 penny with a rare RPM error in mint state 67 red condition sold for over $2,000. That's right, a single penny that someone might have spent on candy back in the day now selling for thousands. This is why coin collectors are always checking their change. Now, what about the color of the coin? You might notice that copper pennies come in different tones. Some are red, some are brown, and some are somewhere in between. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC assign color designations based on the surface tone of the coin. Red coins, which have retained their original copper luster, are the most desirable. Red-brown coins have started to tone but still have some shine. Full brown coins have oxidized more completely and are less valuable in most cases. So if you have a 1961 penny that is still bright red and shows no signs of wear, you might want to consider getting it graded. Professional grading adds legitimacy and helps maximize your potential resale value. Now let's talk about where to sell or buy these coins. You can check coin shops, online marketplaces like eBay, auction houses, and coin shows. Just make sure to do your research and always look for reputable dealers or grading services if you're planning to invest serious money of the current market in 2025. Copper prices are relatively high, and interest in vintage U.S. coins remains strong. Inflation and rising interest in alternative investments have pushed more people into the coin collecting hobby. As a result, prices for high-grade or error pennies like the 1961 have remained strong and even increased in some cases. So in summary, while most 1961 Lincoln pennies are still worth just a few cents, the rare ones, especially with mint errors, brilliant red color, and high grades, can fetch serious money. Whether you're a collector, investor, or just someone who enjoys the history behind everyday objects, this little penny has a lot to offer. So check your change. Look through your old coin jars. You might just have a tiny treasure waiting to be discovered. We are diving into the fascinating story of a coin that many people overlook, the humble yet historically rich 1962 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now you might be wondering how much a single copper penny from 1962 could possibly be worth. After all, it is just 1 cent, right? Well, not quite. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you are going to see why this little coin might be worth a lot more than face value. First, let us start with a bit of background. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909. It replaced the Indian head penny and was created to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse or head side of the coin features the iconic portrait of Lincoln. The reverse side originally showed 2 wheat stalks, but by 1959, to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial, and that reverse design stayed until 2008. Now let us focus on the 1962 penny minted in Denver. That is what the D stands for. The D mint mark indicates it was made at the Denver Mint. In that year, over 1.7 billion pennies were minted in Denver alone. So on the surface this may sound like a very common coin, and it is, but here is where things get interesting. There are factors that can make your 1962 penny worth far more than 1 cent: condition, rarity, errors, and collector demand. Let us talk about condition first. Most pennies from that year are well circulated, which means they have scratches, wear, and tear. However, if you happen to have a 1962 penny in mint state, especially in MS65 or higher, which means it is almost flawless, then you are looking at a coin that could sell for $10, $20. Sometimes even more depending on the buyer. That is hundreds or thousands of times its face value. Now let us talk about errors. And this is where it gets really exciting. Some 1962 pennies were struck with mistakes during production. We are talking about things like double die errors, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or even broad strikes. These error coins are rare and highly sought after by collectors. For example, a 1962 penny with a clear double die error could sell for $50 to $100. Sometimes even more at auction. Repunched mint marks are another big one. Back then, mint marks were added by hands, so it is not uncommon to find coins where the D was punched more than once. These can look like a shadow or a slight doubling of the letter. Collectors love these small anomalies, and they are willing to pay a premium for them. In fact, some repunched mint mark coins from 1962 have sold for over $200, but we are not done yet. The metal composition also adds to the story. The 1962 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. That copper content alone makes the coin worth around 2 cents just for the metal. But here is the thing: it is illegal to melt down pennies for their metal value. So Collectors are the ones driving the price higher, so what about the highest prices? How much can a perfect 1962D penny sell for today? Well, according to coin auctions and price guides, an MS67 grade 1962D penny has sold for over $500, yes, $500 for a single penny, and if you are lucky enough to have an error version in mint condition, the value can climb even higher. Now let us talk about how to check your coin. First, grab a magnifying glass or use your phone camera with a zoom function. Look at the D mint mark. Do you see any signs of doubling or repunching? Next, check the date. Any doubling there could indicate a double die. Then examine the ream. Is the coin perfectly centered, or is there extra metal on one side that might be an off-center strike? Finally, look at the overall condition. Is the coin shiny and free of scratches? Then you might be holding a high-grade specimen. So what do you do if you find one? Well, you can take it to a local coin dealer for an appraisal, or you can send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They will examine your coin, assign it a grade, and seal it in a protective holder that can make your coin much more desirable to buyers and collectors. And if you want to sell, consider listing it on sites like eBay, heritage auctions, or other online platforms where collectors are looking for rare finds. So the next time you are going through your change or cleaning out an old jar of coins, pay attention to those old pennies, especially the ones from 1962 with the D mint mark. They might be small, but they could be worth a lot more than you think. And that wraps up today's deep dive into the 1962D Lincoln penny. From its history to the current market value, this little coin packs a big story. We're diving deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting. If you've got a jar full of old pennies lying around, you might want to check them closely, because one of them just might be worth a small fortune. In particular, we're talking about the 1965 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a seemingly ordinary coin that could be hiding extraordinary value. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just find yourself digging through your spare change with a whole new appreciation. Let's start with a bit of history. The Lincoln penny was first minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first regular-issue United States coin to feature a real historical person. The design was originally created by Victor David Brenner, and his initials VDB can still be found on certain coins, making some of those early versions highly collectible. Now fast forward to 1965. The United States Mint was facing a serious coin shortage in the early 60s. The price of silver was rising rapidly, which caused people to hoard silver coins. In response, the U.S. government removed silver from dimes and quarters and temporarily suspended mint marks on coins from 1965 through 1967. That means no pennies from 1965 will have a mint mark indicating where they were made. Despite being made in massive numbers, over 1.4 billion were struck in Philadelphia alone. Some 1965 Lincoln pennies are worth much more than 1 cent. How is that possible? It all comes down to condition, rarity, and a few surprising errors. First, let's talk about what the 1965 Lincoln penny is made of. Unlike the silver coins that were being phased out at the time, the penny was still made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. That composition remained until 1982, when the mint switched to a zinc core with a copper coating. So right away, your 1965 penny has more intrinsic value in copper alone than its face value. But that's not where the real value lies. Coin collectors, or numismatists as they're officially called, prize certain 1965 pennies for their condition and minting anomalies. One such category includes coins that have been preserved in almost perfect condition, with no signs of wear. These are known as mint state coins, and they're graded on a 70-point scale by organizations like the Professional Coin Grading Service or Numismatic Guarantee Company. A 1965 penny graded MS65 or higher can easily sell for $10 to $50. But if you have one graded MS67 or even higher, its value can jump dramatically, sometimes reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But wait, it gets more interesting. Some rare 1965 pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover 1964 silver dime planchets. These are called off-metal errors. Imagine a penny that looks silver. That's exactly what this error would produce. These coins weigh less than a normal penny and sound different when dropped. If authenticated, one of these rare errors can sell for several $1,000s. There's also a known double die variety from 1965. That means the coin was struck twice by the die, slightly out of alignment, which causes doubling in the lettering and numbers on the coin. These double die errors are popular among collectors, and depending on the severity and clarity of the doubling, Such a penny can fetch a high price as well as so. How do you know if your 1965 penny is valuable? First, check the condition. If it's heavily worn or damaged, it's likely worth only a cent or the value of the copper. But if it looks almost brand new with a shiny surface and sharp details, it may be worth submitting for grading. Second, look for any odd features, strange colors, off-center designs, doubled letters, or unusual weight. If you think you've found something out of the ordinary, it's worth getting it looked at by a professional. As of the current market in 2025, a standard 1965 Lincoln penny in circulated condition might sell for 2 to 5 cents because of its copper content. But mint state examples, especially those graded MS-66 and above, can sell anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on demand. Error coins, like the silver dime planchet versions or strong double dies, can go for over $1,000 or more at auction, sometimes even as much as $5,000 to $10,000 if they're pristine and verified by top grading services. Collectors are still hunting for new varieties and hidden gems among the billions of coins in circulation. So the next time you come across a 1965 penny, don't dismiss it. That little copper coin might just be the ticket to your next big payday. Before we wrap up, here's a quick tip. Store your coins properly. If you do find a potentially valuable 1965 penny, don't clean it. Cleaning can drastically reduce its value. Place it in a soft cloth or a protective holder. And if you're serious about verifying its worth, consider sending it to a grading service. That's all for today's deep dive into the 1965 Lincoln 1-cent penny. If you found this video helpful or interesting, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more coin history and collecting tips. Let us know in the comments if you've ever found a valuable coin in your change. We love hearing your stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Keep searching because treasure might be hiding in plain sight, right in the palm of your hand.